Some things are too broken to fix.
Do you think you're too broken to fix?
I'm not sure. This conversation is 100% my fault. And I understand that I am the problem. I've seen the last episodes. I've seen the comments. I understand the effect it has.
You grew up, all three of you lived in painful circumstances, a lot of trauma, a lot of agony that people at home, probably most of them, have never even experienced and can't even imagine the things you guys experienced.
I was dealing with a lot of shit, a divorce, crazy stuff, and I locked things away. Like I said, you cannot force me in a relationship. I wasn't ready for a relationship at that stage.
Welcome back to another episode of I Wish You Knew, the podcast where we help you build the relationships you have always wanted. I'm back with my friend Andrey Korikov again. Andrey, glad to see you again.
Adam?
This is our fourth episode of me, I don't want to say helping you stop being avoidant, but at least working through some of those avoidant challenges and helping you reach a place where you are more comfortable in your life. Is comfort even the right tactic? Is that what you're looking for? What are you looking for?
Oh, nice. Going in big, eh? What am I looking for? Oh, that's a great question.
What's the holy grail of avoidant man? And not like survival and like hiding in a cave with like chainsaws to like fight bears. But like what's the actual holy grail? What is like the if only? What's that end vision?
My personal dream is that I want to come back from, a long and successful day. Or just a successful day. How about this? First of all, let's skip the long version. Okay. I just want to have a successful day, right? Whatever it took, I did. I lived up to my expectation. I'm in, good health. I'm in good standing. All the people that are in my life are taken care of. We're doing well. We're safe. There's meaning. There's purpose. People are motivated. People are accomplishing. Like, I'm proud of everybody that I'm working with. And I come home, obviously, you're a little bit tired. You're motivated. You're kind of switching gears. And I sit down on the couch and I observe my family having a fantastic time. My daughters are dancing, my sons are like playing or building something. My wife is proud, or she's kind of taking care of them all. She's happy. She's kind of like in this like feminine energy. She's beautiful. She's attractive. And I just want a moment where I can just melt into it and just have this amazing sense of peace, right? Just right, you exhale and you feel that everything's good. And everything, like all the sacrifice, all the challenges, like all of the times that you have to push people, all the things that people have done to get you there, all of that trust is paid off. And you finally hit that moment of just like peace where you're safe, but it's not just safe. It's more like everybody is safe with you. Everybody is happy, like that perfect balance, perfect equilibrium. So I just want to have that moment, even if it's for like 5 seconds, right? And you just exhale and you know that you don't have to constantly watch or be at war or provide or observe, and you can actually just turn off all your sensors and just take everything in without having to worry about it. That's probably my ideal.
That's wonderful. That's called a securely attached family. It's what I have. It's what I've built. And many people have been able to build that. Have you ever known anybody in business, though, like a business leadership person who's ever been able to build that?
Never met one.
Okay. Would you say most of the business people that you've met are probably avoidantly attached?
Like anybody who's successful, 100% of them are either avoidant or they're disorganized, from what I can see.
100%, and that's been my experience too. It's a completely different skill set to crush it at work and then also have that home life. So what you've built so far, right? You've built an exceptional set of skills to get you through the work piece, to get the first mountain, as they say, to conquer that work component, to build the finances, to get the success going, to get a team going. You've got that entire skill set that you need. It's not that you are doing things tragically wrong in the second component, though, of being able to come home to a peaceful family. It's that you just haven't built that skill set yet. It's kind of like you could be amazing in finance and terrible in marketing, right? Completely different skill sets. What we need to do is give you a functional skill set that gives you the ability to craft that second component. That's why most of those business guys, they never learn that, and they don't even realize there is a skill set for that. So that's what we're trying to do. And I gave you some homework to get you started on that path. I don't even have to ask if you did the homework, because when an avoidant man gives his word, he keeps it. So you did the homework.
I did the homework.
You did the homework.
This is the homework.
This is the homework. Okay. Do you want to read some of the homework to me?
How much is it worth to you?
Aha. Okay. So this is the component, right?
Yep.
I'm gonna have to pay you for your feelings.
Maybe.
Before we even jump into that, what was your experience going through that? I'd love to hear. Was it difficult? Was there resistance? Was it easy? Did you just slam through it in 3 seconds? What was the experience of even doing the homework?
I can't say took me too long. It's almost like when I kind of envisioned it, I kind of already knew what I was going to put, but that's probably the outcome of the work we've been doing, Adam. And we've been doing a lot of work. Mm-hmm. And I do got to say, because the first time we did an episode, must have been a number of months ago already, almost more than half a year. A lot of it was kind of recapping the conversations that we've had. This was truly the thinking that you helped me really get out of. And I saw the comments, and man, people hate me. Hi, you suck. But that was that my state at the time? Like, no, not really. Like, some of it was real, some of it was not. But those were those feelings and the thoughts that happened over an extended period of time.
You let the dog off its leash during those episodes.
Yeah, the first one a little bit. The second one actually that we did, or maybe even the third one, I forget. The one that we did here, and I was like, your feelings. That was actually more or less real. I actually was feeling like that at the time. The last episode we did was getting even more real, and this is probably like actually now us getting caught up in our sessions, right? And the biggest thing that it made me reflect on was that progress, right? So I was remembering how I was in your first episode, which was me remembering how I was when we first started working together. And then I kind of progressed through those times. I'm kind of glad we had the opportunity to do that recap. I progressed through those times, and then I got to this stage. And first of all, just like the reflection of like, man, this used to be a lot worse. Like before, this sheet would have been blank. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to slide this across the table. You're going to bring me a check later.
Okay, my credit card's in the other room, but I'll give it to you later.
Okay, you're going to have to pay the transaction fee on that.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. Every little penny, I know.
Yeah. So I'm going to slide this across the table. I want you to take a look at it.
Okay.
And a lot of these people, and I trust you. So we're welcome to discuss it. We can talk about some roles. Don't say name any names, but we can talk about the people. This is a friend. This is your parents. This is even your girlfriend, whatever.
100%. Yeah.
Like, I'm open to that.
Yeah. Privacy is everything for me and my clients. I understand.
I've been great with that. But the biggest thing I got out of this was this. I've gone a long way, but I think I still have a long way to go.
Shoot, don't we all?
Yeah. Well, take a look. Let me know what you think.
Interesting.
You're on there too.
I am honored that I'm on here. Thank you. Interesting.
We might have some stuff to talk about, Adam. We can talk about it here, or we can talk about it later. I'll respect your privacy.
Perfectly okay. We all got stuff we got to do. Interesting. And very interesting. Okay.
So remind everybody what the homework was.
So the homework from last time was to list the top 10 people you spend the most time with, or talk to the most, or have some of the deepest or longest running relationships with, and then give them a score from 0 to 4 of maximum trust that you have for them. So 0 was, I wouldn't even hardly trust them like to speak to me because their tongue will be forked. And number 4 is I trust them completely and totally with mutual fulfillment in every capacity. 0 to 4. I see you don't have any 4s.
Nope.
It's not surprising. I see that you have 1 3, and you have 3 2s, which is interesting. Okay, interesting. Good conversation pieces to have there. Very cool. I see my own score here. Interesting. I do see some 0s on here. Actually, am I surprised that those individuals in your life, because I know some of them, are at 0? Not that one. Maybe. Yeah, maybe that one right now. I could understand. How many of these, and I won't ask specifics, how many of these people maybe at one point were higher and have gone lower because they've maybe breached some of that trust, or they've displayed instability recently?
There's a couple, and this is kind of what made me sad, is that I realized that there's a number of people in my life, and we started at 4s. Like, every relationship realistically is supposed to start at a 4, and if you maintain it, well, maybe a 3 and work up to a 4. But it's not supposed to start at 0, right? You're not supposed to befriend somebody or start seeing somebody or make a business relation with somebody and expect it to be at 0. That's not a right foundation. You have to have a certain degree of optimism. So I think most relationships start like a 2 or a 3. Some relationships can even start at a 4. Our relationship started at a 4. I very much trusted you in terms of how we can build things out. But as life progresses and that relationship expands, I think that score goes down inevitably.
Interesting.
It'd be nice if it didn't, and I think that's the ideal. But at least the way that I have lived my life, I think I've knocked everybody's scores down. Maybe there were actually people that I've built up. So that's been an interesting realization.
It's actually fascinating to me because you and I view that level of trust in the opposite direction. Whereas
Really?
you say that everybody can begin at a 2, 3, or 4, and then they go downward. I actually view everybody beginning at 0.
Really?
And that's what I tell my clients is everybody begins at 0, and it's not a judgment of good or bad. It's a lack of evidence. And then they only go up the scale based on the evidence you see.
I kind of come in with an optimism to a relationship and just go,
Interesting.
hey, you know what? You look great. And then people usually disappoint me. So I kind of expect them to disappoint me, but I give them the opportunity to disappoint me.
Why did I go from a 4 to a 2? I'm curious to know.
Would you really like me to
I would
answer?
love to hear.
Right? Is there something you don't want me to share, particularly? Open conversation?
Open conversation. Let's do it.
At the beginning, we started with this amazing, beautiful vision, right, for building, the brand and whatnot, and just how we're all going to click together and how it's going to basically instantly save the world. Instantly. Like, I was thinking that we could be flipping millionaires by now. And it turned out to be a lot harder than I thought. And it's not because we were incapable or unprepared. It's just because the world often works in much more complicated ways. And as I saw, you going through your challenges, and I saw myself going through my challenges, I had to realistically adjust that expectation down. So if you take a look at the list of things that I'm happy to go with you for,
Yep.
right? You go, there's things that I asked you to, that I'm comfortable asking you for help with, and there's things that I'm not.
Let me ask you a very honest question then. With your vision of what you were looking for, the wife and kids at home, they're fulfilled, they're happy, they're
Friends,
living,
company,
friends,
whatever,
all of that.
purpose.
Let's single in on a wife, right? So you have
Yeah.
a girlfriend, she's amazing. Hi, shout out to her. She's fantastic. Unfortunately, a lot of avoidant men have this idea that the woman in their life is almost going to default to being mostly happy as long as he props her up with what he doesn't recognize as dopamine. If I feed her enough dopamine consistently throughout the years, then she will be happy and she will just naturally be that consistent happy self. She might dip, I give her dopamine, she pumps up. It's a constant pump the air in the tires. If the tire has a leak, you just keep pumping in air. And that's how they view it. And unfortunately, in almost every circumstance I've ever seen, that's not how women operate. They don't just need a constant flow of dopamine being pumped in. They need things like oxytocin. So they need your actual emotional presence. And if you're not able to relax into that bond and really bond with them and have those calm, open conversations, more transparency, you're not going to get it. And eventually they will detect that you're not really reciprocating it. So their levels of oxytocin bonding will go down. Their serotonin levels will start going down. You'll notice she has a consistently depressed mood more often. She's more grumpy. Her quality of sleep will actually go down. But there's that other component, vasopressin. When avoidant man is constantly solving problems by himself over and over and over, it's not like he's being bad. He's actually being considerate of his family. But what he's doing is missing enormous opportunities for vasopressin bonding. And the research on this is very clear. If a couple is not vasopressin bonding, they are very likely to get a divorce. If they are vasopressin bonding, it is the number one bonding activity that they should and must be doing because it predicts the longevity of a relationship. Vasopressin itself predicts the longevity of that relationship. So, for example, I see that she's a level 2. She's a level 2, which actually in your rating scale is quite high. If you guys want to think about that at home, like a 2 for an avoidant man is astronomically high. That's fantastic. So the less that you go to her and at least explain context and say, hey, here's something that's happening. I recognize, in the past it hasn't been your strong suit, and that's okay. But I will need your input on this. I will need your help on this. Can we navigate this together? Can you do half of this and I can take over this? Right? Having that more transparent context with her is actually key to having that future where she's that loving, contented self. If you don't do that, what you're going to do is accidentally terrifyingly shred your family so she is less and less attached to you, even as you're pumping time and blood and resources in to take care of her, that's where you'll lose her. Is this what you're doing right now? Give yourself that real rating.
I don't know, Adam. I actually don't know if this is what I'm doing. I guess what this homework really started getting me thinking is like, how much of what I'm doing is truly, me protecting people? Like, with you in finances, like I said, I'm not going to bring you into that, no offense, because you're just not good at it.
I understand.
Right? And
every conversation we've had with finances, my wife is right there for that.
And I think
she's the numbers lady.
I hope that you see it as a sign of care.
I do.
That's good. So that means I'm actually accomplishing that purpose. But that did get me thinking as well, is like, when I was writing my girlfriend's list, I was like, how much of this is artificial? How much of this is me truly caring for her by not putting her into positions she's not really, meant for? And how much of this is me artificially restricting her for whatever reason? So that really got me stuck.
Would you like to go through that list together right now? Because that actually would be part of that trust, right? Is having that open connection.
Yes, we can go through the list and you can read it out, but on the condition that we put this as a foundation of the conversation, this is not her fault. She actually is trying very, very hard, and she's actually being too good, right? It's me who's holding her back. So this is me. This is my fault. This conversation is 100% my fault. So let's get this down. And with that context in mind, let's try to troubleshoot me. And I understand that I am the problem. I've seen the last episodes. I've seen the comments. I understand the effect it has. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get better. So I'm trying to work with Adam. So I'm trying to work on this stuff. I mean, I could leave it alone and just run around and spend money and, ride fast cars. But I don't think that's it.
No, you can't leave it alone because eventually it comes back and eats you. That's where you lose your family.
And I've seen that happen, right? And I already had that happen with one family, unfortunately, right?
Yep.
I don't want to do it again. Right? I don't want to do it again. I really don't ever want to do that again. That sucked.
Right.
So I have no other option but to go and say, well, I figured out limitations. I don't know what to do about this, Adam.
Yep.
So on that condition, can we have a conversation about that? Because I really like that input.
And I'm glad to hear you say that, because the worst thing that can happen to an avoidant man is not that he's around bad people that prove his bias. It's that he's around good people and doesn't rise to the challenge and lets those relationships get destroyed. That's the worst thing that can happen.
And I do think that I'm the problem in this circumstance specifically.
Okay, interesting. Let's go through that with her then, on her scale. So trusting her with your child, yes, I can understand that. She's wonderful with her. Home life, family life, yes, excellent. Personal care, rarely. What is it that makes you hold back on the element of personal care with her?
I don't want her to turn into a caretaker for me, to be honest.
What does a caretaker for you look like? What do you envision there? Because you're seeing a specific image. What does it look like?
I feel that a man must be independent, like really independent, right? So he's supposed to take care of his personal needs. He should not rely on his wife to have him cook for him, clean all the stuff, make sure he's got like all the laundry, everything's folded and needed. Like he doesn't need to be dependent on a woman. I think that's bad. I think it's unfair, because what's going to happen is she's going to get pregnant, she's going to get sick, he's going to have kids. And then what? You're going to say, oh no, where's my laundry? Where's my dinner? Where's my this? Where's my this? Like that's toxic masculinity shit from like the 50s, when the man would show up home and like snap his fingers and, demand a hot dinner on the table. That disgusts me. Like that type of behavior disgusts me. Okay. So I don't want to be that. And that's why I'm so careful of being like, okay, you know what? I need you to do something. You're not supposed to be running my errands for me. You're not supposed to be doing things. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I say, hey, baby, I'm really, this is going to be a really crazy week. It would really help, if we could drop off some dry cleaning.
Have you ever stopped and asked her if she wants to do those things for you?
No.
This is a problem, because most men have no idea how biologically fulfilling it is for a woman when she has a man she truly trusts and respects to then serve him in those ways. Producer, could you get him another piece of paper and a pen, please? Because I'm going to have to give him some homework throughout this.
Oh,
Sometimes with coaching, the homework comes at the end. Sometimes it comes in the middle, and sometimes it comes all throughout.
Oh my
So
God.
this, I will tell you that when most women, generalizing here, most women, when they are truly in love and respect a man and feel cared for and safe, they actually crave to do things for him. And they get frustrated and upset and sad when he doesn't give them things to do, when he doesn't actually open up and allow her to do that. So I'm not going to tell you to go home and make a list of things to do and then give her chores. What I want you to do is go home and have a conversation with her about what does she want? Does she want to be useful to you and serve you? Use whatever words you guys use in your home, right? Some families won't use the word serve. Some families serve each other. My wife and I we serve each other. That's a very Christian concept. But does she want to assist you in those ways? Does caring for your personal needs, would that fulfill her? Ask her that. I need you to go home and have that conversation.
Yeah. I got a piece of paper. What am I supposed to do?
Ask girlfriend.
Okay.
If she wants to care for my needs more.
More?
Yeah, more than she does now.
Okay. That's going to be a fun conversation. Hi, babe. How's your day? Do you want to care for me more?
Here's what I want you to ask her for number 2. Does me holding back my needs make you sad? I have a feeling she's going to say yes. And I have that feeling because for the last 15 years of my work, when a woman comes in with a good man, that is her number one complaint, is how sad she is that he doesn't let her help take care of him. They are frustrated. They are alone. When a woman in love helps that man, her oxytocin shoots up, her vasopressin shoots up, and her serotonin shoots up. Now, not when you shackle her to the wheel and make her, cook you every meal, 6 times a day kind of thing. But when you give her those things to do, it actually creates stability for her. It creates job security, if you want to think of it that way. This is one thing that women provide in relationships. If you are throwing this in the garbage can, you are telling her she is worthless and replaceable. She is a work of art that you have in the corner, which is nice and pretty, and then you get tired of it and you swap it out for something else. Wow, that vase is really pretty, but I really feel like having a statue of a leopard instead. So you throw the vase out the window, buy a leopard statue off Amazon.
Is that why there's also many divorces, like 45 for men?
Overwhelmingly, because she has not been able to care for him. That piece has to be there. She has to trust him and respect him. That reduces her cortisol, and then she craves oxytocin. Okay?
So I guess this little dream I have of being able to, come to a peaceful, happy home, that is contingent on this.
Absolutely. You cannot have that without this. My wife's biggest complaint at me, do you want to know what it is?
What?
I don't have a perfect marriage. You know what her biggest complaint? You don't let me help you enough. Do you know what her complaint was actually about the last 90 days?
What?
I found out that she's been mad at me she was mad at me for 3 months. Ooh. Okay? She was kind of mad at you, but she was actually mostly mad at me for the last 90 days. No, do you want to know what it was?
What was it?
Because I asked her, I said, babe, you've looked like something's been off for a while, and you haven't told me. And she said, you want to know what it is? I said, yeah. She said, I'm kind of mad at you. I said, what are you mad at me for? She said, well, you've been sharing your feelings with Andrey, and you're not sharing them with me. And I really want to be here to hear your feelings, even if they're difficult. We have a friend who's going through some hard times right now, and you just tell me, when I ask you how you're doing, you just say, it is what it is. And then you take care of me and the kids, and you are keeping me out, but you're opening up to Andrey. And I said, who do you think I am? I said, you really think I'm out there talking about my feelings to these guys? And she said,
what?
She said,
Adam pulling avoidant tendencies? What is this?
Well, the last 3 months have been a frenzy.
Yeah.
And I said, so I told her, I pulled a little bit of an Andrey. I said, you know what? Right now we're in a busy cycle. So when I say it is what it is, what I mean is I'm not feeling horrible. I just don't really have much feelings to report. And she said, no. She said, are you telling them your feelings? I said, no, absolutely not. I said, I've just been doing my stuff for 90 days. It was a good wake up call for me.
Adam's wife, he has told me absolutely nothing.
Correct.
Nothing.
But when we had that conversation, she said, she hammered home, I need you to start coming to me and tell me some feelings. She's like, even if you have to make them up, like, come and tell me. I said, okay, all right. So I've started, and it was a good wake-up call for me. Like, okay, start talking to my wife more instead of doing this.
So I guess secure attachment isn't like a destination.
It is not perfect. It's not perfect. I'm not perfect.
That helps.
But here's the component. That highlights everything we just talked about. My wife is
really
not
it's really
unique
funny.
here.
Just 2 weeks ago, just as the beginning of this absolutely insane cycle. So I have this new tradition because I'm really trying to learn hard. I really am trying to learn hard. So I have this new thing. So when it was Ellie and I, my daughter and I had a very hard rule. I do when she's with me, because she's on and off, week on, week off. When she's with me at 6 p.m., I shut down everything. And then I'm with her until she falls asleep. So say 8:30, right? And that's it. And I pivoted my work around it. It's like, if it's not done, I have to finish it late at night. I have to skip something else. I have to, not eat. I have to not sleep, right? And I said, this is just the way it has to be. And I carved that time out. It is hard. And I did this. That was during the weekdays. During the weekends, I always go do something. Like I always, we'll go to church on Sunday. Saturday, there is a very hard carved out time. I can take a little bit, she's doing something else, but her needs come first during those days when she's with me. And it's tough. And over time, it took me a while to pivot the business. Like it did take a shot on the business end, but I said, I'm willing to take that shot. And I paid the price for it. And then when Annalise came into my life, we started kind of figuring that out as well, and I started seeing what her needs were. And at one point, she had a hard day, and we sat down, we talked it through, and then I said, well, how can I help do this better? She says, well, I need some consistency. I said, every day we're going to have at least 1 hour after Ellie goes to bed, or after like I finish work, and at least that hour is going to be nothing but yours, right? And that's it. Just like I did with Ellie, now I'm taking 1 more hour away. That has made my life more difficult. I'm not going to lie. Has cost me sleep. It has cost some quality to work. I have had to push some things. But now it's just as much a non-negotiable because I don't have to invest into that relationship. And it's really interesting watching myself figure that out with her as we sit down, right? So the first couple of times, we have the shower, so I put pull a blanket, she cuddles on me, we cover up with a blanket on the couch, I put a little quiet music, dim the lights, and it's a very calm, very emotionally regulating conversation. And the first while, she's like, how are you doing? And the first time she asked me, I'm just like, I'm good.
Breathing.
Good, right? And we kind of got stuck at that point. And then a point, she goes, how are you feeling? I go, okay. Acceptable. Just I'm okay. Thanks for asking. And then we just, there were a couple of nights we kind of hit that, and then we kind of had to spend extra time to build a proper connection, start talking. And the third time she asked me, she's like, how you doing? How you doing? I go, I really hate that question. Not because of you. I don't understand how to ask it. It doesn't even make any sense. Doing what? What am I doing? How am I doing what? In what context? It makes no sense to me as a man. We're going to have to find something else. She laughs about it. Because what are you trying to ask me? It's like, I guess she's like, how's the circumstances of your life? What's happening to you? And I goes, it's like a status report. She goes, Andrey, what is your status report?
Yes.
And as soon as she said that, I'm just like, oh, that makes so much sense. Okay, status report. Status report I can do. So I go Italian assessment.
So let's take that one step further. Why is she asking you for a status report?
I guess because she cares.
Okay.
Guess that's nice.
Why else do you think she's asking you for a status report?
Safety. She probably wants to feel, she wants to know there's stuff going on that's going to affect her, I'm sure. Makes sense.
Why else might she be asking you for a status report?
Because she loves me.
Okay. Why else might she be asking you for a status report?
I don't know. What more do you need?
So let's pretend, okay, that you hire an assistant.
Okay.
Her job is the job description you give her is to sit in the corner of your office, collect a paycheck, and smile.
Why would I hire somebody like that?
Why would you get a girlfriend like that?
What?
What if you are doing X, Y, and Z for her? Okay. If you're providing extensively for her, working hard for her, providing, taking care of, fighting all these battles, building safety for her, what is it that you're allowing her to give you in return?
Companionship, friendship, romantic relationship.
But she benefits from all of those things.
Yeah.
What are you allowing her to give you in return?
What does she have to give? She's already given me time, affection, exclusivity. In the future is going to be children. Just even validating me as a man by being specifically with me and giving support and hope.
Cool.
How is that not enough?
She benefits from all those things.
Great.
You are going out and working hard to take care of the family. Is it possible that by not letting her give you something unselfish in return, by not letting her reciprocate care for you, that you're turning her into a feeling like a charity case?
I have never in my life thought about that question.
Most avoidant men turn their closest loved ones into charity cases without meaning to. It's not that they're bad
So is
guys.
that my other piece of homework? Are you feeling like a charity case?
Yes.
Fuck me.
I know.
Now this conversation got a lot harder. You know why?
Why?
Because it makes me a dick.
Well, yes, but it actually makes you a man who is giving everything to his family and doesn't even know that he can ask anything in return. And that's really the tragedy of most avoidant men, is they come off as
Do you want to finish reading that list?
Sure, yeah, we will.
Let's find out.
So one point's pretty important.
Let's find out. Let's find
know.
out why, because this is actually starting to click in for me. Now I understand why made me do this.
So I see rarely would you ask her for business advice. That makes sense. She's that's not her area. I know she has amazing other skills. Romantic fulfillment, cool, right? I won't even ask what that means. Feelings and emotions, right?
Feelings
the
and
scoffing.
emotions.
I can hear the scoffing. Emergencies, yes, which is good. Makes sense. So yes on a lot of those good family components, but no on you. No on caring for you and personal development. So a moment ago, I told you that my wife was just frustrated at you. You've talked to her. I remember you telling me, like, I could tell she was mad. She was mad because she felt like you were taking me away from her in a moment.
Surprised she didn't poison my food.
No, she loves you. She loves you. She likes you. So that's why. She's just mad that she thought I was sharing my feelings with you. That's all. So
Yet again, wife of Adam, he has not shared anything. That does not exist.
no, I've learned to share my feelings with her. But I will say, one thing that a lot of men do actually miss is if you have trust in the woman in your life, if you trust her character, if you trust her wisdom, if you trust her discernment, if you do that, there is no one on this planet who has eyes on you quite like she does, because she will watch you like a hawk in a good way. Most men shy away from that. They don't want to be observed by the woman in their life. They don't want her to see his weaknesses, his vulnerabilities. They don't want her to see those components. I say that the strongest men do show those things to her, but with a solution-focused approach. Because if she can call out the weaknesses in you, then you can find solutions to those and become more powerful and stronger than you have ever been. No one can find those weaknesses quite like the woman who knows you best. But you have to let her know you best. So when it comes to personal development, yeah, maybe she can't personally advise you on every component of your life, but have you ever sat down with her and said, I want to make sure I am the best man I can possibly be. Where right now do you see me not stepping fully into my best self?
When we started dating, we weren't even dating yet. We were just kind of writing back and forth to figure out if we're a good match. There's something that I said that really resonated with her. There's an awful lot of the work that we were doing together, Adam. And I said, I believe that your responsibility as a woman is to teach me how to stand before God at the final judgment. Mm-hmm. What does that mean? Ultimate judge of character, right? I think you're going to be slightly less harsh than him, right? I think that I actually have to, while you submit, to me in many different ways, I also have to submit to your judgment and to tell me when I'm being up to your standard or not up to your standard. And you must understand in doing so that I will never 100% be of all times up to your standard.
Correct.
Right? I will sometimes fail. And what you need to do, what I need you to do at that time is I need you to tell me how am I failing and what is happening. And then you need to give me space, time, and support. Not pity, ever pity, right? Not just kind of writing it off and saying, it's okay, he's fallible, whatever. You got to suck it up. Saying, hey, Andrey, this is not acceptable. You're not being your best here. And I'm going to wait for you to become your best, but you have to go figure this out, because until you do, I'm not going to let this continue, right? To have that type of firmness saying you're not being your best. So we've had that conversation. That was the foundation of our relationship. So I'll be honest with you that ranking on that one probably hurt me. Some of the most things that has hurt me on this piece of paper was actually writing that number down.
Yeah.
Because I'm realizing that the foundation of our relationship, the thing that we were promised to each other we're going to do as a condition of this, I don't think I'm living up to that quite right? And it's not because I don't want to. It really isn't. It's just because I haven't made time for it. That's the part that hurt me the most, that I have actually not made time to fulfill my obligation to her that I promised was going to be the foundation of it. So now I feel like I'm really not enough.
I hear you. Most avoidant men, when they find a good woman, they get into the relationship and they do the right things like you did. They say, here are the expectations I have. Make sure that we do this. And they start off different than anywhere else before. And it feels so different, but they bond overwhelmingly to her. And they've never felt this before in their life. And then they do the one thing that can screw that up. They stop doing all the things that built that relationship in the first place, and they backpedal. And that's where her heart starts to break. She starts to get confused. She pulls back. She wonders, when is he coming back? It's like my wife for 90 days. When is Adam going to come talk to me about his feelings? And they do this thing. He's probably stressed out. I don't want to push on him. I know he'll come back, but then they start feeling it and feeling it and feeling it and feeling it. And they wait and wait and wait. She's probably waiting for you. She knows all of this. Anytime I go to my wife and say, hey, I think I've been screwing up, she says, yeah, I was just waiting for you to notice. And I said, why didn't you tell me? You weren't at a place to receive that feedback properly. Oh, okay. Well, tell me now.
Yeah, but at the same time, this is where I would say, wouldn't it be better if she just said, hey, I'm unhappy earlier? Why waste 3 months?
Maybe.
Right?
Maybe.
And it's very difficult. I really understand it's very difficult for a woman to do that. And it's something that's probably going to be a life skill that you develop over years and years and years and years. I hope that, by the time, that I'm 40, 50, whatever, we have that communication and it's fast.
Oh, yeah. I've only been married 16 years. So we had that little blip. Maybe when we're married 40 years, we won't ever have those little blips.
That'd be nice.
We haven't had a fight in years. Like that was just her coming to me and saying, I've been kind of mad at you for 2 months and I've realized that, or a couple months, and I've realized I have to talk to you about it. Oh, okay.
Sometimes those things take time as well. Like the woman has a very interesting development, personal development. I mean, you guys have recently had a kid. You have so many children. I'm sure the time that she has to think about this is so limited.
It was so. I don't think I even told you the whole story. But we had our new child, and then my wife had such a massive hemorrhage during the birth that I'm not going to say she almost didn't make it, but it came really, really close. And the medication she needed, the hospital didn't have. So we were just hoping she was going to make it for a couple of days. She did. Thank God, but it created such a massive physical problem.
Adam, why didn't you tell me that? I'm a friend of yours. Who did you go to? It doesn't have to be me. I just curious.
I will be fully honest with you. During that time, I was so buckled down into dealing with that, it didn't even occur to me to go to tell my friends that. And by the time we were through it,
attachment.
I know. That's that dysregulation component, right? That was me focusing so hard on my wife and everything at that moment that that's all I did. I buckled in. I focused in. And then by the time it was past, it seemed like it wasn't anything that I had to tell anybody. I know.
If you told me that, I swear to you, I would have found that medication anywhere and flown it there myself, right? And I know people who can get this done. There was a time where I had a family member during COVID, and we were actually stuck in Serbia, and he got COVID in a very difficult circumstance. He had already health challenges. He got COVID. He was hunkered down, and we need ivermectin. I arranged for ivermectin to be bought in Moscow for a lot of money, thousands of dollars, and I had a private pilot on standby to fly in the country, right? Stuff like this can be fixed. You just choose not to trust us.
I know.
And that's why you went down from a 4 to a 2, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. I understand.
Please don't do dumb shit like that again.
I won't.
Thank you.
That's why I'm telling you now. This is what I mean, is even when we have secure attachment, we need to maintain those pieces of relationships, those components, that clear communication. We need to do that. We need other people who are watching us, who are communicating with us about it. I am not going to be perfect. There's times I'm going to fall short. It's the same thing I'm telling you right now as an avoidant man. I at least have her to keep me accountable. I have you to keep me accountable. I have other people to keep me accountable. People come and grab me by the nose and say, hey, something doesn't look right with you. What's going on? And
I'll
I
be
say,
doing that
okay.
now.
Cool. By all means.
Randomly at your door. Where's your wife? Where are you?
By-
Show them doing good.
By all means. By all means. But I have many people throughout my life to grab me by the nose and say, something doesn't look right. What are you thinking?
That's why we got into the whole coaching practice expansion 6 months ago.
I know.
I said, Adam, you're going to die, bro.
I know.
And you're like, no, I'm good. I'm like, no, we're starting now.
I know.
Now.
And that was me trusting you to come to me and do that. This is the piece that's missing. For avoidant men who don't open up to anybody, you have nobody to come to you and say something doesn't look right. What is it? You have nobody to do that for you. It is you alone.
It's so funny. So my girlfriend and I had an excellent conversation. It kind of shocked her, I think. We were traveling, and I could see that there's crazy time change, just crazy schedule, crazy everything. And I can just kind of look at her, and I'm like, okay, something's off. I think you're either tired or upset, and you're hungry. Like, here's a challenge with women. Fucking tell us what's wrong. Like, just fucking tell us. It's unbelievable. I don't fucking understand what the fuck is the problem with coming, say, hey, I'm hungry. We'll cancel the next thing. We're going to get you food, and then you'll be happy. Hey, I'm too hot.
You and I just spent 15 minutes talking about how you and I don't do that, though. It's not just the women out there
But
doing it.
it's such a simple fix. This is a biological
Is it a simple
need.
fix, Andrey?
Yes.
Is this a simple fix?
Well, my shit's emotional.
So
But
it's a
this is
simple fix for them, but
biological.
it's complicated for me. You don't understand.
Right.
Hey, I will own it. It's a simple fix. I need to start coming to you more often for things. I need to start telling people things. Hey, you know what?
I guess.
If I'm going to start telling you more things, are you going to start telling her more things? Should we make a blood pact here?
So the conversation we've had was really funny because she's clearly hungry, and she's like, hey, you're hungry. And she's like, no, I'm not. Let's keep going. I go, no, you're hungry. We're going to go eat now. She goes, Andrey, you should trust me. And I go, no, I shouldn't. She goes, what do you mean? You should trust me. And I go, because I love you, I'm actually not supposed to trust you in everything you say. I'm actually supposed to go, no, what if she actually needs something she can't tell me because I care for you? And that kind of like clicked her up a little bit. And she's like, I'm not sure how I feel about this. Like, thank you for watching me. But like at the same time, kind of like, I guess like a boundaries thing. I was like, hey, but are you hungry? And then it was really funny because like after we were trying to get tickets to something, we went in, we got the tickets, and the thing started like an hour or two later than we expected. And I go, why don't we go for lunch? She goes, yes. I'm just like, why didn't you just tell me earlier? And sometimes it does take this weird little dynamic where you're supposed to figure that out.
As much as you want people to come and tell you things, they want you to come and tell them things. How much are you living up to your own expectation? Because this is hypocrisy, and it's hypocrisy in two ways. The first one is you want people to just come and tell you things because it makes life simple and you can solve problems and it cuts down risk, but you're not telling them things, so it makes it complicated and it adds risk for them. So you're adding risk to her life by not telling her things. That's the first way it's hypocrisy.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yep.
Thanks, Adam. Ouch.
Yep, you're welcome.
That one hurts. That one lands. I have no answer for this.
Okay.
I really have no answer for this. It's guilty as charged.
Okay.
What do I add to my homework to make this feeling go away? I don't like what is happening right now.
Hypocrisy?
Make it stop.
Yeah.
Whatever you just did, make it stop.
Okay. So most avoidant guys, when they reach this point, they say, I don't want to start telling people things because it will be too much, it will overwhelm them, and they will get resentful. I don't do it because I don't want to burden them. It's usually what they say. Is that the feeling you're feeling? Is that the thing you're experiencing right now?
What am I feeling?
Green.
Purple with specks of brown.
Yeah.
I feel guilty, honestly, because she's very good and I'm not good enough, and I'm trying hard, and I spent 2.5 years trying to fix my attachment. And I didn't get very far. You know, those people who were like pissed at me, like they were pissed at me for the me I was 2 years ago. That was in the first episode. And, you know, it was deserving. Yeah, okay. But, you know, frankly, it's like, hey, I was dealing with a lot of shit, a divorce, crazy stuff, and I locked things away. Like I said, you cannot force me in a relationship. I wasn't ready for a relationship at that stage. I now am. And by doing this and having this conversation, and just specifically with that point of pointing out hypocrisy, it truly is, I feel very guilty for not doing better. How do I fix that? What do I even do?
Go to her and have a conversation where you say, how much sharing from me is too much? You need a number. How much sharing from me would be too much? When would it be too much? And she's probably going to say, if you're crying on the floor for more than a day, it's too much.
When you say a number of what? Dead puppies?
How often? How often? How often is having feelings too much? What's the approach that you need? What is it? Do you have to have a solution every time? Can you just have a bad feeling sometimes? Is that okay? Very few women are actually going to leave you because you had a sad feeling that day. If you cry on the couch for 90 days, they lose trust in you. Yeah. But one day where you're having a hard time, she's not going to abandon you. So ask her that. Ask her where the line is. It's important that you do that, number one. She will appreciate that she's able to be there for you when you're at your lowest, knowing that you are also going to get back up. It's not a case of pity. It's a case of, I am helpful to this great man when he's at his most injured, and I have done something useful. I have done something
men
good.
Are not so great. Injured dogs get put out of their misery.
No, not if they heal. You can break a bone and come back stronger. What happens to a bone when it breaks, Andrey? You've broken bones before.
They heal, and that's fine. Some things are too broken to fix.
Do you think you're too broken to fix?
I'm not sure.
Ask her how much is too much.
Okay.
Ask her that. Hear her answer. Listen to it. Okay? That's the first way of hypocrisy, by the way. That's the first way that you're being a hypocrite there.
I'm just what? Not allowing her to even have the chance to try to fix me? It's not her job to fix me.
You have taken away her dignity of making her own choices, and you make her choices for her. And you dictate what she will get and what she can give. You are dictating both sides of the transaction and not allowing her to make a decision. Stop dictating both sides of the transaction for people. Herself included, but everybody else too.
Are you calling me a control freak?
I'm not calling you a control freak.
Owen up, Adam. Yes or no answer.
Yes.
Thank you.
And not because you're exploiting other people, but because you are making sure you don't exploit other people.
Where does the line lie then? What is this?
Trusting other people to actually stand up for themselves in their transactions with you. I don't think your concern is that everybody's going to try to rob you. I think your concern is that other people are so foolish they don't know what they need, so you have to figure out what they need and then give it to them.
I'm more concerned that I'm actually going to rob them, right? That I'm going to accidentally take too much because I'm in my feelings, because I'm too absorbed in that.
Who are you to decide that for them without even asking them?
I don't know. Somebody who takes responsibility for them?
Are you their father? Because in previous conversations we've had, you say, I'm not anybody's father except my child's. Now you're trying to be everybody's daddy.
Nice. I don't have an answer to that.
And that's actually the second level of hypocrisy is you try to be everybody's daddy, but you also tell people, fuck your feelings. Constantly.
It doesn't make for a very good daddy, does it?
So do you remember about a year ago, you started making fuck your feelings your motto, and you said you were going to get a t-shirt with it written on it.
Vaguely.
And then you complain that people don't come to you. Is it possible you've made yourself unapproachable? Even as much as you crave for people to approach you. Is it possible that that's going to stop people from talking to you about what's going on?
I think it's not even possible, nor is it probable. I think it's definitive, because I would never come to a man like that.
Okay. So if someone said, your feelings, would you go to him during a difficult time when you're afraid?
Not until I had control of my feelings, in which case I wouldn't need them then, would I?
What if you had a very good man in your life that was a good person and he did a ton of things for you and you felt like a charity case to him? You felt like a charity case. And at the same time, he was also saying F your feelings.
Is that why he didn't show up to me when you needed help?
I don't know.
Well, honestly,
it
cut
did-
the crap at him.
It didn't even occur to me.
Is that why it didn't occur to you?
That might be. It's also my own hangups. I think it's both of us. I think we both need some work.
Oh, man. I'm sorry, Adam. That's not what it was.
I'm sorry too.
Oh, that's hard. That one's a hard one.
Friendship is hard. Friendship is hard.
Why is it so hard, Adam? What the
Because we make things complicated by assuming things in our own heads and not talking to other people. It gets vastly simplified when we have one sit-down conversation like this. Like I'm recommending you sit down and have those 4 conversations with your girlfriend about her desires, her needs, and if she wants to serve you, and if you're preventing her from doing so.
What's really hitting me here, I'm going to need a sec to process all that.
I know.
Sec, the year, to lifetime. Is
About
this
30 decades, yeah.
30 decades will do. The business stuff, frankly, the your feelings in business has a lot of merit. And you said you do it yourself, and everybody I know does it yourself. So it's not wrong.
For survival, feelings do need to go, yeah.
But it sucks seeing that unboundly trickle over into personal stuff. That conversation was supposed to be reserved, Adam. Your feelings, Adam, was supposed to be reserved for times when we were supposed to be pushing, and we did push. That conversation was not reserved for when your wife was potentially, on her deathbed, and you didn't come to me. That wasn't supposed to happen, but it did. So how many other things did I fuck up like that?
Well, how did you want me to know that it was reserved for that specific slot? Because fuck your feelings is a pretty blanket statement.
It's a pretty blanket statement.
Fuck your feelings only when it comes to business and finances, but never to anything else. That would be context.
I guess that should have been added. And I think that's actually probably it, right? So it's like, talk about chiseling away at people and figuring out what they're good at. I'm doing the same thing with me, right? I'm trying to chisel away at me as well. And I'm trying to cut away anything that I'm not good at and get better at things that I am good at. It's, like a beautiful analogy that Sathya Sam actually told it on a podcast a little while ago. He said, Michelangelo created the statue of David by chipping away at marble, and he was cutting away everything that wasn't David, right? And in the same way, this is how men actually build themselves. And you have a blanket statement of like, fuck your feelings, be tough, and it's good, but not all the time, and not in every situation, and just knowing when to apply it to get outcomes versus to like chipping, something away. It shouldn't be chipped away. It's like, I just feel like I just chipped like David's nose off with that. I'm like, that's not quite right. And that's it. And when it's off, it's off. This is a thing that like so is traumatizing about this conversation for me. It truly is. It's like, here's a live example of like, you said something once and a year later, it just has a consequence. And the consequence is mine. So I'm sorry for that.
I happily forgive you.
Thank you.
And I promise I will come to you in the future. Always.
That really helped, Adam. Thank you.
This right here is exactly why you need to go have those conversations though with your girlfriend. Why you need to have them with your other friends. Why all these people on this list, well, maybe not all of them, but quite a few of them, because some of these people deserve so much higher scores. I know them. They deserve so much more than this. And not that you've wronged them, but just frankly that they're probably so hungry for you. They're probably so hungry to know you. Why don't you go ahead, take a moment. You said it was traumatic and painful. Circle some of the other things on that now are just as painful, things you need to correct. Because that's actually a list of things to correct. That is your battle plan. So there's a few things on here that we can definitely look at, and there's a few things that you said you need to fix. One thing, and this is going to sound funny, but one thing, you actually listed your child on here, and you circled that you want to start working on that a little bit differently. I'd like to dig in there a bit It shows your score for her actually was compassion and love sometimes. I got 5 kids. I understand that they're not always on and ready to rock, and they're not always in line. Like sometimes you need a hug, and they want to play like kick you in the face. What would you like to do differently with your child?
Everything on this piece of paper I take full responsibility for. So that's a blanket statement, right?
Yeah.
So operating under that, she is so full of just love and compassion, want for connection and companionship. I know I'm not utilizing that. I know this age is going to pass. You know, I want to, and I try to as much as I can, as fully as I can. It's just like, it's a very difficult state to reach where I can be fully in that presence. I'm just not physically there. I'm not financially there. I'm got too much stuff going on. Have to work too much. Like, it's not set up yet. You know, that life is simply not set up yet. I'm working hard to set it up, but I know that I'm missing time. I know that I'm missing every day. I know that I'm missing every minute. And she's getting closer and closer to growing up. And by the time that I'm at the place where I want to, she's going to be too old. Even if it's in a year, you know, even if it's in 6 months, I'm missing that very golden opportunity. So.
Yeah. So I'm going to tie that in with something else, and we'll go gentle here. But I see that your relationships with your parents, right? You're not fully trusting in that relationship. And as an avoidant man, that makes sense, right? And that doesn't mean your parents are awful people. It just means that the connection wasn't there. I know, for example, your family has been through some very, very hard times. I know growing up the way that you did. I don't know if you want to share anything about that, but you grew up, all 3 of you lived in painful circumstances, a lot of trauma, a lot of agony that people at home, probably most of them, have never even experienced and can't even imagine the things you guys experienced.
It was strange because it's just a few months ago. I was at my grandmother, and she lives in Russia. One grandmother's in Ukraine, one grandmother's in Russia. With the conflict that's going on, it's really a tragedy. Like, war is on their doorstep for both of them. And it's just such a weird experience because one grandmother's in Kursk. That's where currently, I don't know when the podcast is going to air, but there's a very active war zone there now. And the other one's in a little small town called Kanyev in central Ukraine. It's about maybe 120 kilometers, 150 kilometers out of Kiev. And I grew up, spent a lot of time in Ukraine and, you know, some time with my other grandma, but most of it was kind of spent during my childhood before I moved to Canada in Moscow. And I saw my grandmother's house, she's an apartment, and it's left exactly as it was since, you know, the 60s, the 70s, decorated the same way. And whatever people would say about, you know, Soviet times, it was comfortable. It was a quiet town. They lived a good life. You know, they were normal people. And that's not what I experienced as a child growing up in post-Soviet Russia. I remember guns. I remember violence. I remember like horrific stress. Like, there was so much conflict at that time. There was a lot of terrorist activities. There was a lot of buildings blowing up. I remember coming home from school, and I was alone because my parents were working. So I was 6, 7, I think, walking home from school, maybe 8. And this always was a challenge because you never knew what was going to happen. There was one time, so I'm going to get into that. It was dangerous. It was dangerous to come back. And when you would get in, I showed my girlfriend like where I grew up, and there was imagine a 5-story building, and there's a steel door blocking the entrance, and you have to have a nice long key so you can get in, and you get in that. But the trip up the stairs was actually the most dangerous part because you never knew who was there. There was one time there was a guy who like cracked my head open on the stairs. I was 5, just because I didn't do anything. I was just going up the stairs, and he penned past me and just smashed my head open on the stairs. Maybe that's why I'm weird. And this is just the way it was, right? So, and then you kind of have to, you know, run up the stairs and hope that nothing bad happens to you. And then you like open this other steel door into your apartment, and then you close it, and then there's another door, and then you open that, and you're finally home, and you have this like feeling of like, oh. And then you turn on the TV. I remember this distinctly. I did all that, my little safety routine. You check, you know, make sure nobody like runs in after you and, you know, robs the house. Nobody shoots you. Nobody does anything. And I flipped on the TV, and on the TV there was a series of terrorist acts that were rolling through Moscow at the time because of the Chechen War. And terrorists were putting bombs into the gas lines of buildings. So they would bomb the gas line, and the whole, they called them подъезд, it's like a segment of a building. It would cave in, people, kids, everything. And there was a whole like fear campaign about that. And I remember I turned it on and they were saying, oh, like 17 people are dead, like, 5 of them children, like horrible stuff on the TV. And I remember I was like, oh, I need to tell my parents. I'd write it down on a piece of paper and I'd leave it for them when they would come in. So that was the messages that would come from their kid. And they would often come in and they would have horrendous experiences, just running, their business. They had a little side shop. There were chemists, by trade. They spent, years and years in science. As soon as they were finishing their, PhDs and whatnot, the whole system collapsed. Nobody cared. There was no food. There was no housing. There's nothing. There's like violence. And that's it, right? That's what they lived. They had a little side business trying to make money. And they would come from awful conditions to this tiny little space, which wasn't even safe. And it was full of cockroaches and, whatever. They try to keep it clean. You can't keep that shit out. I remember going to the markets, actually. We went by the market we buy food at. It was just an empty parking lot because markets were basically in the streets. And I remember we would walk on these wooden pallets, the pallets they used for transportation. Yeah. That was the floor, right? And underneath it was crap and muck. And you would buy, like, in the middle of winter, your fingers are like freezing. You'd be buying like half frozen like fruits, or like chicken that came from God knows what. I swear to God, we probably eat cats. I know we eat cats. Like that must have been some of the chicken. And you'd put on clothes, like standing on a piece of cardboard, trying to like put on little pants in the winter at -30 because there was no change room. So that's the type of shit that they grew up with. So that definitely has impacted. And that's a hard one to get over.
I would say, from hearing all of that in those circumstances, everything that you say makes sense. In those circumstances, if you had a girlfriend during that time, it would make sense that she wouldn't have time to take care of your needs, your personal care, your personal development. It would make sense that you wouldn't go to other people for some of these concerns you have. Actually, it makes sense that you would trust people based on their skills and based on their capacity. It makes sense during those survival conditions. So my question to you is, you lived through the collapse of the Soviet Union. Are you still today living through the collapse of the Soviet Union in your home?
I'm trying not to, right? That's why I've went and I specifically focused on help, right? Getting help from you, getting help from multiple professionals on spirituality, on religion. That all helps. Will I ever be free from that? I don't think so. What did I tell you at the beginning for that little dream?
Safety and peace for your family.
There you go.
The only way for you to build that dream is for you to be free from the ghost of the Soviet Union and its collapse.
Should be a book or a movie.
But also, immersing with those people is exactly how you pull your brain out. Your brain is a forest, dead, full of kindling, waiting for a fire. Not a bad fire, but a fire of connection, of love, of people who care enough to help you. You have done everything you can to prevent a spark in there because you don't think it's going to help or that any of that could be real because you haven't experienced it before. I think you tried when you were younger. I think you tried with your marriage that you had. I think you tried with some friends earlier on. I think it just went badly because you didn't know how to filter the right people. I think that your filtering process was broken back then, but it created a bias spiral. I think that the time has come for you to break out of that. Decide which of these people maybe you trust more than these numbers and have some of these conversations that you've circled. because having those conversations is actually proof that you don't live in the Soviet Union's collapse anymore. Because the people back then couldn't have had these conversations. They couldn't have immersed with you. They couldn't have met you on these. They couldn't have sat and listened to you. If you had, back then, if you were 35 years old and had a girlfriend and then tried to talk to her about these things, she would laugh in your face and leave and go find a different boyfriend. But the proof of it today.
You know what was the number one profession for women between 1993 and 1995 in the Soviet Union?
What was it?
Post-Soviet Union.
What was it?
Prostitution. Girls who wanted to, they got out of college, they wanted to be prostitutes because they lived the lifestyle. You know, it's literally recorded.
Yeah.
That was the number one thing they wanted to do. The amount of prostitution that was there, that's where that comes from. First of all, I'm exceptionally grateful to every sensei I've ever had because they beat discipline into my head. It's the only reason I'm not in tears at the moment because this sucks. Thank you for that. That'd be disgusting. We can't have that. But truly, it's a very emotional moment for me. What hurts the most? I'm not even sure if it is, but what hurts a lot is not only that I can't seem to break free of that. One, it's also robbed me of a childhood too. And has robbed those people of a connection with me, 3. And it's still doing that now.
Yeah.
How is that possible after 30 years?
You'd be surprised, actually, how many people I talk to who are still struggling with the ghost of the Soviet Union. You'd be shocked. Maybe.
You got a lot of Russians on your belt?
Russians, Ukrainians, Russian Jewish people, a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of people are still fighting this fight right here.
That's why, honestly, a little complete pivot, but like Americans, like keep your country together because when it falls apart, it's so bad. It'll be bad for you, but your kids will be fucked up forever. Like, and even an atom might not be able to save them because there's not enough atoms.
Let's do our best. Let's do our best. We'll make more atoms. But what I will say is this. The proof that your brain is looking for, that you don't live in this, is never, ever, ever going to be found inside you. You're never going to reach a point where you feel content enough, rich enough, jacked and ripped enough, you have enough fighting prowess to keep yourself safe. Survival will never be enough and resources will never be enough because that's just you building a compound that doesn't prove that the war is over. What proves the war is over is the human beings around you not cracking your head open on the stairs, not being prostitutes, not stealing from each other. It's actually the people around you saying, please, please come join us. Come sit with us on the swings in the park. Come sit with us and have this conversation. It's you having those 4 conversations with your girlfriend and saying, do I make you feel like a charity case because I don't let you help me, but I help you?
Well, the deep and honest truth here, Adam.
Please.
It's not that I haven't tried that, right? And it's the deep and honest truth is that I don't know if I can. Because when I sit on those swings, I'm still back home.
I know. It takes time. But you are designed to need other people to give you that love and that connection, to bring your stress level down. And you and I have done quite a bit of that. But then to have those conversations with those people. If you just sit on the swing and say nothing, you will never grow. That's actually why your girlfriend asks you, how are you feeling? It's not even because
Status report.
The extra piece when I kept asking you, why does she ask you that? Why does she ask you that? You're like, well, so that she can feel stable because I'm not falling apart, so that she knows where I'm at, so that she, part of it is because she wants you to know that she cares enough to ask.
There's a moment I remember I was living in Miami. It was just, it was after the divorce and we were figuring out how to live together with Ellie. I had a nanny and I specifically paid the nanny to stay for dinners. So we can start formulating some idea of a semblance of a relation, kind of like a more healthier relationship as we're recovering after that and, being a single parent. And this is when you and I were working together on rebuilding kind of the serotonin system. I told you the story.
I do remember.
Yeah. And such a painful process. And part of the reason why I needed the nannies there so that you could kind of keep Ellie distracted, I can kind of in a slightly more privacy and personal focus, go through that regrowth. And we started that, and the first 2-3 dinners, I don't believe any experience that first experience. Like, I cannot associate with it. I observe, there's never an emotion. The first time never connects with me. So the first time was like that. The second time was similar. The third time started getting less. And then the fourth dinner we had together, when I exhaled, and for like a very slim second, I had a very minuscule, twisted, vision of that dream I explained to you. As soon as that hit, my whole body went into shock.
Yep.
And it's like, it felt like the whole thing was on fire. I couldn't breathe. Like, it was like nerve pain to an extreme. And I couldn't talk. I couldn't function, could barely breathe. Everything hurt. And it lasted for probably about 20 minutes.
Yep.
And then it happened again and again and again. It took me, probably about a month.
I remember. You called me freaking out.
Yeah, I did.
Because you said, our family dinner's supposed to hurt this much. And I said, hurt?
Yeah.
I remember. You were at my house about a month ago, right? With me and my wife, my 5 kids. Everybody was there. Remember I bought that giant table? Yeah. That's the one thing as we've built this business financially, the one thing I've really splurged money on was a gigantic table for 12 people for exactly that reason. That's my decadence. As you sat at that giant table, right? Remember we had a 3-hour family dinner. Was it painful?
No.
What was it?
It was nice. It was calm. Flew by.
Describe nice.
It felt cozy. It felt safe. I didn't have to think about watching everyone and everything, making sure things were good. Because it was in your home. I trusted you. I trusted your wife. I could play with the kids. I could talk to Ellie. I could flirt with my girlfriend. We could talk. And that was like when the watchfulness could stop. Just for a little bit. Just for a little bit.
For 3 hours, you were free from the Soviet Union. It wasn't you that made that happen. It was the people around you helping you.
It's really funny when you say free from the Soviet Union. It was from the ghost to it. And it's really, when I went to my grandma's place, they lived a much better life than we realize. Of course, there's all the issues and whatnot, and it's a huge political thing I don't want to get into.
Yeah.
But they lived a good life. My girlfriend saw it, and it was fine. It's what happened after, when they went from a system, whatever it was, to no system, to truly that insecure attachment. So the reason my parents had such a tough life was because they grew up with a system, and they lived and they were safe in that system. They would walk to school without that. Nobody would lock any doors. They had food. They had opportunity. They didn't have to pay for anything in terms of like education, medicine. And all of that got taken away from them, right? That's what basically is traumatizing. It's the destruction of a system, really.
Those are the moments in human history that avoidant attachment is designed for. You didn't slip into some broken state. You slipped into a survival adaptation. You have never, ever, ever come out of it. But you can. Because just as much as you had the survival adaptation clicked in, you also have the original, healthy, secure piece built right there waiting. That's all that tinder inside of you waiting. It's all there. It's all there. It's just you've never, ever, ever, ever turned on those systems. It's a whole control room where it's covered in dust, but it's waiting for you to turn it on. And other people are going to be vital. You can't do it by yourself. That's why avoidant men get stuck.
Yeah, I could see that. It's we're making progress at home. Ellie and I, and Annalise and I. We're making good progress. In my soul and my spirit, I'm making good progress. With my family relationships, my parents, my brother, we're at least doing something. But I think we're still very lost as a family on, really what to do and how to do it. And everybody's trying. I really am proud of that. Everybody's trying. But that's a challenge that, we're going to have to solve. And I don't really know how to solve it. I don't even know what conversations to have.
One thing that I have found is sometimes restoring this trust from 1 to 3 or 4 is going to a person and simply saying, I want to be honest with you. I would really love X. I don't know how to get there, but I would really love X with you. Is that something that you would want? And if it is, could we have a series of conversations to figure out how to get there together? And sometimes they'll say no. Sometimes they'll say yes, but they're not quite willing to go there. But a lot of times they'll say yes and then you just have conversations about how to get there together. And that experience actually is what brings you out of that ghost of the collapse. that ghost of terror, that ghost of starvation. It brings you out of that, and your brain says, this person wants this with me. Now we can build it together. And that's actually how you build human relationships. I would like this. Do you want that too? Can we build it together? What do you need? Here's what I need. Are you willing? That's the magic. It's doing just like your daughter does with you. Daddy, I want this evening together. Can we do that? Sure. Here's how we're going to do it. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. It really does. I think it's something I'm going to have to work up towards. And I can see myself going through, it's truly a very long road. It's a very, very long and painful road. And it started with, me internally a while back, starting to work with you working with me after years and years and years and kind of walking me through all that stuff that was, said on the podcasts previously. And, all of it was real. It just was a little bit, condensed and summarized in time, but all true steps. And then eventually got to the stage where I could connect with God and religion. And I did that for a while. I was connecting with friends, then connecting with coworkers, it's just such a long road. Then eventually building myself up where I could connect to a relationship. Now working on that. And then down the line, I'm not ready yet to talk to my family. We talk, we visit, we see each other. But to have that conversation, I'm just not ready yet.
Okay.
I want to be ready. So how do I get ready to the stage to even ask that?
You have the conversation first with the safest people that you are surest will say yes and will actually follow through. It's a series of your brain learning that this is even possible. Right now, your brain says not possible. You need proof of concept. So first, with your girlfriend. With me, off camera, probably. With a couple of the other friends on this paper, right? The surest people, the lowest hanging fruit, fills your brain with all those chemicals you need and proves that this is possible. Then the next set of people who seem possible but tough, it becomes so much easier. It downgrades the difficulty and downgrades the difficulty and downgrades the difficulty over and over and over. So then the ones that seem absolutely impossible are just kind of tough. Training. Proof of concept.
That I can do.
I know.
I actually don't mind the training part.
I know.
That makes it easier.
Start with the easy stuff first, and the hard stuff becomes easy.
That's
how
really
it
good
works.
advice, because then it's like you can work yourself up to it. You can imagine a possibility. You just may not know how to get there quite yet. That's the second mountain. You climb the first mountain. You go, okay, well, at least I know a mountain is climbable. So let's break this into steps, strategies, techniques, attempts, projects, whatever you want to use. This is where it's very important to start using the ability of an avoidant man to break things down and strategize and make them achievable. This is where my skill set in business and whatever else is very useful.
The same skills that kept you alive during the hard times actually can be harnessed to bring you out of that system into a better system. You just have to understand that there is a system happening here and that you are meant for a deeper, healthier connection. You've just never touched that part before. So harness that part and drive to success. That's your measurement of success. Where are you at right now?
Hard thing to do. Where am I? In what way?
What way do you interpret it? Where are you at right now with all this? Where's your feelings? Where's your thoughts? Where are you at right now?
It hurts. It really does. Still in that.
I know. Pain demands a response. It's there to drive a response from you. So if it hurts, what should I do about this? Not an unconscious withdraw and dissociate from it, but what should I do with this? I think that should spur you into having those 4 conversations with your girlfriend.
Frankly, I want a hug.
I will definitely give you a hug at the end of this episode.
Thank you. That'll help. And it's interesting because I've gone a long way for just to even be able to say something like that. So it's nice.
Yeah. And it makes me happy to hear it.
Good. Well, that's it, right? So that's the thing, right? Is just starting with something super small. See, I know you give good hugs, and I know I can ask you for a hug. At least I can do so on air. So that's a good little testing. There, I feel better now. Even envisioning the fact that I can ask you for a hug already makes me feel better.
Fantastic.
So truly, I guess this stuff works. And that's I guess the purpose of this technique, and it's really has been a very interesting thing to experience, because I gotta say, I wasn't particularly about it when you gave me that homework, because you saw it in the last episode. I wasn't particularly about it when I was, like supposed to do it. I didn't do it, when I was supposed to do it. I kind of did it on like the ride over, kind of like, that's why I was all scratchy and whatnot, because of bumps on the road. Then the Uber. And then I don't know, it's just when you start asking those questions, when you start positioning things like that, and just the way you kind of got me through the thinking of it, it really changed stuff. I don't think I've ever said that before to anybody. I don't think I have. That was hard.
It was an honor to be able to walk with you through it. It meant something to me to help you.
Well, thank you. Well, so what's the next steps? I have my homework. I guess we just do that and then reconnect and go from there.
Start there. Start with those 4 conversations. What that's going to do is go to one of these pieces here for her. I see one of those big pieces, and that will give you some guidance on how to approach the next ones. If you need some help, definitely reach out. I'm here. Definitely reach out, and let's plan some of those other ones, because you have 4 points to talk about with her. I'd say 4 points to talk about with a couple of these other people on here. You'll have a battle plan. You'll move forward. And that's just the first wave of conversations. It's going to get better and better and better from here.
Yeah, it really does put things a lot into perspective. And it's just the Soviet Union thing really kills me. It's really funny, and I'm also reflecting on like my prior marriage and whatnot. It does make a lot of sense. A funny little story. When I walked into Jordan Peterson's house for the first time, I was greeted with 17 Lenins. He collected Soviet art. And he still has that collection. He talks about it, extensively, because I don't share anything of his private life that, he hasn't spoken about online, because I respect him as a man. I respect his privacy. But there were over 17 pictures of various Soviet paintings, mostly reproductions, some of them originals, with like Lenin and like, working scenes and whatnot. And I don't know what exactly it set off in me, but like that was the definition of the context of our relationship. I think we were both, him and I, were in the Soviet Union. I just call it, or at least the post-Soviet Union. So there's something there that was just so strangely like coincidental and meaningful. And then we both ended up back in Moscow for treatment, because he had to go through treatment. He has also talked about that. And then we both kind of had to go through that. And it's interesting. He's not on that piece of paper, because our relationship fell apart and got completely disconnected with a divorce, afterwards. He's never reached out. I guess I've never reached out to him either. And that probably hurt a lot, just, it wasn't even as much the connection with Michaela that I lost. It was that connection with him. We were quite close, and we did a lot of work together. And, he also has told me that, there's been just a lot of things have happened, and we're going to both need time. That was our last conversation before the divorce even went through. And it was one more person that, shall we call, the Soviet Union collapse has taken away from me. And I don't know if he's still in that. I don't really watch his stuff anymore, because it's still quite painful. And it's just another person that's gone, another person that's disconnected. And it was strange, because even for me, like the fact that relationship could be lost so easily after so much we've done together was a painful realization.
You lost a family, a second family.
Yeah, a second family.
A first family and a second family.
Yep. That's why it's hard to start a third, but we do it anyways. So this stuff is real. It exists, not just for Russians and Ukrainians and Belarusians and whoever was in the Soviet Union who went through that. There are tens of places like that. There's the Middle East, there's Africa, there's Afghanistan, there's Vietnam, there's South America. There's the majority of the world is in conflict. So this story is mild by their standards. Like, Andrey, at least you had a home. I had to sleep, in a box. It says say a lot of people. Even in America, like the poverty is insane. But even in cases like Jordan Peterson, who didn't grow up in those conditions, although his conditions, were still challenging in some ways, even he lived in that, I think, right? Or at least he was associated with that somehow. So it's this state of being like in a catastrophe is much more prevalent than people think.
Yeah. Everybody has a war that they're still fighting.
Yeah.
We only really come out of it when we talk to each other about them, and then we realize, okay, I'm not alone in that war.
And I guess to all the people who were commenting, especially, who I upset, again, I don't care, who I upset online with some of the earlier stages, and they're so angry. It's like, you can be angry all you want, but this is the manifestation of what's going on. You have your own war, but don't make it just about yourself. At least realize that other people have other stuff, and we manifest it differently. Some people manifested with anxiety, other people manifested with this. It truly is kind of not even up to you until you dive into this work to define. That's really the reason why Adam and I started building this in the first place, so we could have this conversation. It's interesting to me that we're actually getting in a month and a half, I think we're going to be at the birthday of Veritas, the 3-year birthday, when we decided to start working with Adam. Mm-hmm. And just to think about the progress I've made with your help, you've made as a coach, as a brand,
Absolutely.
It's amazing. And this is actually the testament to the conquest of that darkness, the collapse, the terror, the horror show. And you've described to me on a past episode some of your story as well, and you've shared that, so I can see how that has happened. So that's truly the epitome of vasopressin bonding, how one thing can lead to another, and that is truly the path, the mystical miracle path to recovery. That's quite divine, really. So
I love you, my friend.
I love you too.
We're going to hug after this, guys. Don't worry.
That's right. He's going to dive at me over the table.
Pretty much. Let's throw the table out of the way.
Wow. That's quite a bunch of episodes. That's really quite a journey.
Oh, you think it's over?
Oh, I don't even know. I'm going to let's leave this one up to the viewers, right? So you guys have seen, was it 4 or 5 kind of series episodes we've done together. Share your feedback, share your comments. This is me actually opening up. This wasn't staged. This wasn't scripted. No. This wasn't a joke. This is me as I am today. You guys saw me as I was earlier, and this is where I end up today. So it did take a lot to talk about this online. I'm truly being vulnerable. I'm truly being honest. If you want to tell me that I'm an awful human being, then you actually probably are yourself. This is the way you approach people, being honest.
Yeah.
You can go suck it. But for people who are actually a little bit more, compassionate, reflect on this in your own life. Where are you being me? Where are you being better than me? And where are you being worse than me? If you use me as a scale, the reason why I'm here is so that you guys can have some context, because people don't talk about this. Nobody really comes out and talks about this because attachment is just starting to come into the public eye. And with the work that Adam has done on me, I feel like that is the best testament, so other people can get the same help. And that's probably the best place I'm going to leave it at. So leave us your comments. If there's another episode or another series you want us to do, let us know. I'm open to it cautiously, not over-promising. But in the meantime, I have my homework. There's a lot of conversations I need to have. There's some processing that I'm going to have to do. And there's going to be some connections because there's a lot of circles on this paper that I need to work on. And I did not expect a 3 simple, step problem that took me, 5 minutes to write to have such a deep and impactful connection. And this is really what Adam does to people. This is exactly why attachment is the miracle cure to so many things. So thank you, Adam, for the work you do.
Absolutely. We're going to go hug, and then we have to go hug our producer. He's been crying over there in the corner watching you. So
that's right. So, wow, what an episode, guys. What an episode. I don't even know I'm going to do a regular outro. You know where to find Adam, at Attachment Adam, something, Instagram. Links are down below. At Andrey Korikov, Instagram. Links are down below. Forget the links. Maybe let me end with this. Sometimes, I guess, it's good to feel your feelings, as long as you're in a place where you can process them with somebody who's safe. Sometimes feelings are truly valid because it's the only way out of a very dark place. So should I say, f your feelings? Yes, f your feelings. Until and as long as you're using that energy to get to a place where you can actually feel them. And that place can take years to build. And that's okay. right? One conversation at a time, one little attempt at a time. As long as your feelings isn't your life motto and you feel pride in that and you understand that is your brokenness and your shadow speaking and that is your trauma and that is all of the things that are wrong with you through maybe no fault of yours, as long as you're aware of that and you're using that energy, that, avoidant masculine energy to get out of there and get to a point where you can get help and have those conversations and rebuild, then yeah, you're still going to go into your feeling stage, even, when you are in business and, where you are in, in some circumstance. Like even Adam, I went to his feeling stage, when there was an emergency with his wife. You are going to be that, but as long as that's not your motto and that's not your master, and God forbid you think that's how we're supposed to be, I think you're probably going to be okay and just try to work your way out of that. And that's why we have the community. I think actually the attachment circle community is the best place for that. Really, like this is where people are truly doing the work. They really, really are. So make sure that if you're in your feeling stage, at least go somewhere you can just even talk online. It doesn't even have to be to your friends, like your family. If you're not ready, I'm not ready to talk to my family yet, and I want to be, and I love you guys, but I got some work to do. It's not you, it's me. But just go somewhere where you can have a conversation, because you can't have it with yourself. And if you don't have it, you're never going to go anywhere. So with that in mind, I'll see you on the next episode of I Wish You Knew.